Hey, bitch. Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, motherfuck. What the fuck? Security! Hi, welcome. Welcome back to the Hall Monitor of the Universe show. Today, our topic is gonna be confidence. Did you hear my voice crack? Confidence. It's gonna be about being confident and how I grew up not confident at all. Let's get into it. Okay, so the question is, are we born confident? Is confidence indoctrinated into us? Meaning, is it conditioned into us? Do our parents make us confident? I say yes, they do. Or do our parents also condition us to be unconfident? Absolutely. I want to say more of the latter than the original, but let's get into it. So, confidence has been a huge issue in my life, and I'm sure people that have been following me for a long time are like, you're psycho, it's all in your head, this and that. No, I think I know for a fact, a lot of intelligent, artistic people are people that suffer from low confidence due to PTSD, meaning something that happened to them as a child. It could be not even, PTSD doesn't even need to be as a child. It could be as a young adult. It could be last week. It could be anything. But whatever had happened made it so your confidence is like, meh, you know? So moving from LA into a little tiny city in Texas, Waco. Wacko, we call it. Girl, Wacko because bitch it fucking is, okay? But here in Waco, Texas, I've worked at a handful of places with a lot of younger people. I am 40. I know it's hard to tell in my little ensemble, darling. I got this from Goodwill, honey. And my bestie Marte got me this little hat, this little turban, baby. I love it. Come with me and we'll be in a... No, that's not the right. I was thinking of Aladdin and I went Willy Wonka. Wrong! What is Willy Wonka? Yeah, come with me and we'll be in a world of pure imagination. I was right. Anyways, so confidence. Okay, let's go back to when I grew up in the world I grew up in. So I grew up in a world where the internet started at the end of my high school. I mean, not the internet that we have now on our phones and we can get anywhere. When we walk into a mall, we have internet. No, I'm talking about the motherfucking dial-up internet. The boop, 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 boop. And then it's like, your mom picks up the phone and fucking interrupts it. You're like, Mom! Get off the phone! I'm trying to download a pornography pic that's going to take 10 minutes to download. Mom, get off the phone. Anyways, that is the time I grew up in. No cell phones. I had a beeper. If you're from Las Vegas, it was JJ, King of Beepers. And it was, my first one was an ugly black one, but the other one was a see-through blue one with the side girl. Bitch, you couldn't tell me nothing with that pager, baby. I loved it. Anyways. But we grew up in a time where we weren't online. The only thing that we would see are magazines and TV and the few channels that we had on TV that we were watching to look at stuff and be jealous, to look at stuff and think, oh my God, I'm not that. I need to be skinnier. I need to be prettier. I need to be this. We didn't have this internet that we have now where we can pick up and look somebody up. And this is the other thing. We also didn't have like face tuning, people, filters, anything like that. So the pictures that you saw on the, if you know what I'm talking about, we used to go out with Polaroid cameras that go, and then you'd snap the picture, girl. You'd snap the picture, and then you had like 27 pictures on there that you took out of that, and you would just fucking pray to Jesus hanging from the cross, girl, that you'd have one picture that looked good with you and your buds, okay? And you just prayed when you developed them. You had to go to Walgreens or CVS or somewhere that had a fucking photo center, and you had to pay to print them, girl, okay? Listen, these kids don't know nothing! Anyways, but I do have to say, I do think with growing up with social media being so easy and so... you open it up, you can see what these people look like, how they look, how beautiful they are. It's all fucking fake, but I am surrounded by these kids, I think, that do think it's real. Sometimes I think it's real, okay? We're not all perfect, I get it. But I do think right now confidence is a huge problem amongst the youth because of social media. I also think because they grew up in a time that I didn't grow up in, meaning they grew up in going to school thinking that any day they could get shot in America. I graduated in the year 2000. Columbine just happened, and when Columbine happened, we thought, well, this is just a fluke. We thought America will take care of us. Kids are not going to get gunned down in schools. No, that's all that fucking happens now. So I can't imagine that children with social media, seeing things that are fake on social media, and then coupled with, there's the jingle jangle baby, if you can hear it, my dog, coupled with being forced to go to school, knowing that maybe you could get shot and killed. I kind of understand as to why the self-confidence is so low, okay? But let's get into me, because guess what? This is about me, the Hall Monitor of the Universe show, and I'm Hall Monitor of the Universe. Okay, so my mom always told me as a kid I was always a very happy baby. I was always smiling. I had deep, dark, black hair, bright blue eyes, and I was kind. She said I would always share with everybody. She said I was just a kid that was happy, okay? I'm going to tell you a little story. So just about how honest kids are and how honest I was. So when I was growing up a little bit in Texas, my dad had a friend. I believe his name is Mark, and I do believe he's not around anymore. So rest in peace, Mark. But he was my dad's best friend. But he was holding me as an infant, and he was talking to me. So he's holding me like this, and he's, talking to me. And my mom said she, looked over and saw that I, had a face like this, like disgust as he was talking to me. And when he was done, she said I looked right at him, and I said, "Your breath stinks." Okay? Now, this is funny. They tell the story as a funny story. My parents do, right? Very funny. Oh, my God, blah, blah, blah. Now, knowing my parents, as we do, because they raise us most of the time, well, I don't know about most of the time. I don't know the percentages on that, who gets raised by their actual parents. So I don't know. Fact check that, okay? We don't have producers here. But what I know probably did happen with my parents was, they think it's funny now, but I know as an infant they scolded me. And they told me what I did was wrong. They told me that me telling the truth was incorrect. And I do think as an impressionable child that doesn't know anything, that's new to the world, or that's being reintroduced into the world again for the 100th millionth time, because I do believe that we are all reincarnated over and over again, and that we are just souls that float from being to being and inhabit bodies. We cannot be just this. I'm just not going to accept that. But I do believe that when you tell a child, don't do that because you just embarrassed me in front of my, that's what the parents are saying. Don't talk to our friend like that because you are embarrassing us. Although everyone thought it was funny and although it was truthful, that is the first time I can remember being told that I knew what I was saying was the truth, but that it was incorrect and that I need to hide the truth from people. I also learned at a really young age that my parents didn't like the truth. So I started lying. I can't remember specifics a lot of the time, but I do know that, I didn't want my parents upset with me. And I did know that when I told the truth, that I would get in trouble a lot of the time. So I started to lie about everything. I lied about my grades. I even got to the point in school that I was so scared. I got a D on a report card that I hopped out of my window. Okay, baby. I could have had a business, baby. I could have had a business with doing this. I hopped out of my window. My bestie Drew from Taco Bell, I worked at Taco Bell, baby, picked me up in his little truck, okay? We went downtown Las Vegas to a Kinko's. Kids, if you don't know what Kinko's are, it's like a copying place where you make copies and you get shit printed out and all this bull when you don't have a fucking printer, okay? And what I did was, back in the day, report cards would come to you in the mail, okay? It wasn't online. I'm an old fucking bitch, okay? So it would come to you in the mail. I would retrieve out of the mail the report card. Then I would have my friend Drew take me downtown to Kinko's, and Melissa. I remember my BFF Melissa was there as well. And we would photocopy my report card, cut up another photocopy of it, print over the D, what I wanted the actual grade to be, okay? Photocopy it again, and then I would hand that to my My parents. This is to the extent of the lying that I got to, because I was like, bitch, I am not getting grounded anymore. This is not happening. I will lie my way out of anything. But what happens, and now looking back on this, what happens when you start lying all the time? Yeah, are you getting out of situations, abusive situations like I was? Sure, right? Am I putting myself in more abusive situations? Maybe. I can only see the one side of it. But what I do know is it's not good for your psyche to lie. It's not good for our insides to lie. It's not good for us to not be truthful to ourselves, especially someone like me who grew up, you know, the big bamboozlement was, oh my God, when I turned 16, I came out of the closet, you know, hi, I'm queer, I'm here, everything about it. But like everything just seemed like I always had to like hide it as a kid. Hide who you are. Hide who you want to be. Nobody wants to see that, okay? These are all the impressions that I got as a child. Guess what happened? I found alcohol. I will never forget. I took my first drink. I went out, same Drew, okay? Sorry Drew, if you're watching this, I love you, baby. Nothing bad. But he was my lovely, straight best friend in high school, okay, baby? Love you, baby. And he picked me up one night, snuck out of the house, probably around midnight. I was at the first floor while everyone, my whole family was upstairs. So I snuck out. We went to a house party. I had my very first alcoholic drink there, okay? It was, I believe, a Pepsi and rum in a little Dixie cup. Class act. Class act. And I remember taking the first couple sips. I remember it going down my throat and into my my little chest area. I remember it warming up this area. And I remember after a couple sips immediately relaxing. And I thought, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? And how do I continue this? Because I feel confident. I feel like I can do anything. And bitch, I listen what happened that night. So I got so drunk, I guess. I only had one of those and another half. I sat on this straight dude's lap that I was talking to. And this is, everybody, this is like in 97, okay? Queer people were not, we didn't have after school clubs, baby. There were 3 of us in high school, honey. I'm not going to name the 3 of us, but I was one of them, bitch. And the only reason I even fucking came out was because I told one girl, and then that girl told fucking everybody, and then all of a sudden I was out and about, just like on Love, Simon, bitch. So, wait, what? I'm losing my train of thought here. What was I talking about? Oh, okay. So, drinking the hooch. So, I was with my bestie and this other girl. I'm going to call her Jessica, okay? Jessica. And Drew, Jessica, and I got drunk. We decided it would be a good idea to go back to someone's house. We did. And we all got naked. And we had the worst First of all, it was the first time I had ever done anything with anybody. It was the worst. No, that's a lie. Sorry. I had prior fooled around with someone. This is the second time. My first threesome at 16. And the crazy thing is I wanted to have sex with Drew. Drew wanted to have sex with Jessica, and Jessica wanted to have sex with me. It was the worst threesome ever because nobody wanted to fuck anybody. When it got to the point where Jessica wanted me to, enter her. Do we say that? Enter. I don't know. She was beautiful. Beautiful. I remember she had beautiful boobs. I don't know what the puss looked like. I didn't get close enough. But what I did was I pretended to pass out because I didn't want anything. I mean, unless it was with the dude, I had zero interest whatsoever. Bada bing, bada boom. I do remember I was doing something to Drew, and it was all dark, and he's straight, so whatever. And also, Drew, he also has a video of me masturbating somewhere. I think about this a lot, like, yeah. So if I ever got famous, just know that there would be videos put out of me if that was something that anyone would be interested in. You wouldn't be interested in. I remember it was like kind of far away. But yeah, we had this terrible threesome. Oh, Drew. And I was doing something to him. He goes, I knew it was you because I could feel your pubes rubbing up against my leg. And I mean, back then, we didn't have any context. We didn't have the internet. We didn't know. My pubes were probably this tall, girl, as long as the pea. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the pubes were ridiculous. And I know for a fact that the pubes were ridiculous on me back then because me and my ex had pictures. We had taken the pictures, you know, the Polaroid ones. And yeah, the pubes were pretty long. The pubes were pretty long. Maybe that's why I didn't have great confidence back then, because my pubes were just runneth amok. So I found alcohol, my new best friend. Right after I found alcohol, I found a man that I took hostage for 10 years. We're going to call him James. That's not his real name. Maybe his butt, whatever. But was with this man for 10 years. So these 10 years... And this is the other thing about confidence. It can shift from one to the other. You can, in my opinion, maybe the little confidence that I had growing up was from, like, my Nana who really loved me, that told me little things. But, like, also, I think when you're raised in chaos like I was, which it was. I mean, I'm not going to go into huge detail in this episode about, like, the chaos that was my house was. Like, what are we saying here? But, so what happens, like, when you outsource confidence? Meaning you're not getting it from inside, you're getting it from something else, right? Well, you start hopping. Alcohol stopped working for me. Alcohol stopped giving me the confidence that I wanted as I got older. So what did I start doing? Well, I got with someone that I thought I loved. I was with that person for 10 years. But codependency took over, and I started to get confidence from him. And I'll tell you a little story about how I knew. And this is going to jump a little bit. But when we broke up, this is the first indication that I knew that he held all my confidence at this point. We were already broken up. We had been together for 10 years. We had owned a house. It was foreclosing. We had just demolished each other's lives, okay? Excuse me, I'm getting over the flu. Hold on. So we had just demolished each other's lives, and I was moving my mom from Texas to Nevada, and it was really stressful. Okay, it was fucking stressful. And I think we were still in contact a little bit, so I called him, and I was, like, freaking out, having a panic attack, which I would have a lot of panic attacks back then. And I remember him answering the phone, and I said, "This is what's going on. Can you tell me everything's going to be okay?" So I said to him. And he said, "How am I supposed to know if everything's going to be okay?" And this is the first time that he kind of stood up. He would always kind of give into my bullshit and, like, allow me and just tell me so I could move along. But he was like, "How am I going to like, I don't know if everything's going to be okay." And I was like, "I just need you to tell me." And I meant it. And he said it, and I got off the phone, and I believed it. And now thinking back on that, there was my confidence. Once again, my confidence was not inside of me. My confidence was taken out and handed. First time it was handed to alcohol. And then the second time it was handed to my ex-boyfriend. Okay? So we broke up. So at that time too, as well as, like, handing my confidence, everything was handed over to drugs as well. So, like, because alcohol wasn't working anymore to make me feel a certain way, I went to drugs. I started opioids. Well, at first it was, like, very hard drugs when I worked at the Wet Lizard, the sex club I worked at, which is in another episode. If you'd like to hear about that, go back to the one called the Wet Lizard. Thank you. And it's a fun episode, okay? But with so I started hard, like, with crystal meth, okay? And I dealt it, which is crazy to think. While I was working at the sex club, something inside of me knew, and I think with my ex, we both knew that, like, this was going to kill us. So we switched, but we switched to, you know, prescription drugs. We thought, well, we were getting them from doctors, who cares? But this went on for years and years, right? So when I was 27, I landed in rehab. Monte Vista. Boop-a-da-boop-a-da-boop-a-da-boop, which is over in Las Vegas, okay? It's a fucking shit show of a place, but that's where I landed. So I landed there, and I was introduced to recovery. Mostly 12-step programs, but definitely introduced into recovery. So in these 12-step meetings, I come in fully, like, gauged to blame everybody, okay? I am fully ready. I am a victim in my life, and I have always been a victim in my life. I'm a victim of my parents. I am a victim of the school system. I am a victim of bullying. I am a victim of all these things. So when I finally land in recovery after years of drinking and using and just fucking my life off, okay? I land in this place where now I'm being told, well, guess what? You have to look at yourself and realize why you are the way you are. And, you know, for AA specific, it's like, why did you drink? So that's why they do the steps, right? And the steps, they have 12 steps. A lot of you know that. It's not only AA, it's NA, it's Al-Anon. I don't know if ACA, which is adults of child of alcoholics or whatever, like, I don't know if they do the 12 step, but I do believe OA, Overeaters Anonymous, they always do 12 steps as well. GA, which is Gamblers Anonymous, they do the 12 steps. And what the 12 steps is pretty much is, if you, in my opinion, if you take God out of it, it is very helpful. It will walk you through, like, you admit that you're powerless over alcohol and that your life had become unmanageable. That's number one, right? Perfect. Done. Okay? I am powerless. I have no control over this anymore, over alcohol, drugs, people, all of it. I cannot control myself, okay? And my confidence is in the gutter. I have zero confidence, yet I'm still fucking blaming everyone else for my problems. That's called false pride, baby. False pride. Look it up. So I come in there, I start to do these steps, but I am not, I don't believe in God, I'm godless. Do I think that maybe there's something bigger than us? Sure. Do I think it's something that, you know, human beings wrote in a book and, you know, thousands of years ago, and now we're sitting here trying to decipher it? I mean, the Bible is unreadable, people. You guys put these things up. You guys don't even know what you're talking about. But do I think that that shit's real? No, we've been bamboozled, okay? But do I think that there's something greater than us? Sure, but I call myself an atheist. So the 12 steps were a huge problem with me because you get to the first, unmanageable, sure. The second one, they start to talk about God, okay? They want you to relieve. They want, before you get to like listing your stuff, which is step 4, and step 4 and 5, which is made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves, and then 5 is admitted to ourselves and to another human being the exact nature of our wrong. So it's going through and keeping your side of the street clean of everything that you've done to other people, right? So totally great. Then as you get farther into it, you learn how to meditate, pray, and then start to carry the message to other people. Very basic spiritual. AA did not create the wheel on spirituality. But in my opinion, if you take God out of it and if you work the steps, I mean, a lot of you, I'm sure, have used the God and worked steps, but AA is only 5%. It is known that it is only 5%. It only works for 5% of the people. 5%, sorry. I'm trying to spit this fucking thing out. But AA only works for 5%, and what that means is people do not consistently stay in AA consistently sober. People stay in AA, but they do not stay consistently sober, and that is AA's problem. AA blames it, well, they're just going to drink, whatever. No, it's AA's problem. They need to evolve. They need to change their literature. They need to not have a book from the 1930s written by 2 straight white men. They need to have a book written now, and it needs to not just be all about alcohol. It needs to be about codependency. It needs to be about, why did I start drinking? Okay? Why? I know what alcohol and drugs does for me. It builds me up. It gives me this confidence, but then it also tears me down because it's depressive, right? Anything that we do, anything that goes up, mama, boop, 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 well, it's going to crash, right? So that was my whole life, girl. Always going up and down until I got into recovery. So grateful for me that I was able in recovery to find another place, a Buddhist-based recovery system where I learned how to meditate, where I learned how to be around other people, and where I learned how to start knowing that confidence, even though my confidence was ripped away from me as a young kid, okay, by things I remember and by some things I don't remember. But, okay, the confidence is still there, and I can grab onto it at any time, okay? Instead of thinking that God keeps me sober, I keep myself sober. Each day I wake up with an intention to not drink and use drugs, and I do it, okay? That's me. That's not God. And that gives me confidence to move throughout the day. Now let's fucking talk about Los Angeles, baby, and where my confidence was at. And when I moved to LA. So confidence so high. Moved to LA. I have this great script I wrote with a writing buddy. We were pitching this script to get it made, right? So much confidence. LA, baby, if you don't come out there with a bunch of fucking money, a bunch of jobs, knowing people, you will start to struggle quickly. And I started to struggle quickly. Well, guess what happened? It sounded like a good idea to start hitting the hooch again. Okay? I started hitting the hooch. So I want to say 6 months in, back, I started hitting the hooch. Let me say it one more time. Hooch? Oh, you know, I got to say this. My mom works at, this is a side note, we're sidebarring for a second, but my mom works at a dog place where they groom dogs called Dogtopia, and Crumble Cookies was doing something for one of the dogs, and one of the dogs was named Hooch, and because Crumble Cookies is so religious, they bleeped out Hooch. They didn't put the dog's name, Hooch, because it was alcohol. Crumble Cookies, go fuck yourself. Okay? Now that I got off of that, I need to look at my notes and see where I'm at. So, it makes sense that if I started drinking again in LA, my confidence was really high with this script. I started to go down very quickly. They say, I don't know who they are, but they say, if you stop drinking and you pick it back up, you pick back up right where you started. And I did. I started feeling like shit right away. But the insanity started taking over. The insanity in my brain saying that you need this alcohol, you need this weed, you need all this in order to survive here in LA, okay, which was a big fat lie. I wish I would have just gotten sober and stayed on the path. I'd probably fucking be a star of a TV show right now, but I didn't do that, and that's not my story. But, so, I got into background acting, a perfect place for an alcoholic. Because guess what happens in background acting? You put yourself in a situation where you're the lowest on the totem pole. Like I've said, you're going to get treated like the lowest on the totem pole, right? So I started to get treated like that. The insides of me didn't feel like that from where I've moved up and what I've done in my life, but I went back down and I convinced myself it was okay because I was in a new profession, and that new profession, in every new profession that you want to be great at, you have to start somewhere. So I convinced myself that. I did not realize that background acting, in my opinion, people, if you want to be a professional background actor, or if you want to just do it for funsies, fine. But if you want to be involved in Hollywood in any manner, in writing, PA, AD, director, costuming, hair, don't background act. No one takes background actors seriously. They look at us like we're a bunch of fucking morons. And I'm glad they did, because I was able to watch all these crazy ass fucking people. They thought I wasn't going to say nothing, and now I'm on here talking about all the motherfuckers, right? So there's that, but whatever. So I get into another situation in my life where I'm being treated like a piece of garbage, right? The first time was my parents, the second time was schooling, and now I'm in LA. I did this to myself. I'm not saying that, but I'm here. And it's not helpful that I'm fucking hitting the hooch. I'm hitting the hooch, hitting the hooch, hitting the hooch. And now for the pandemic. The pandemic happens. And we all know what the fucking pandemic did to all of us individually. Well, for me specifically, I was about to be on a reality TV show hosted by Alaska Thunderfuck. It was a hair competition show called Beauty School Dropout. That was about to be starting filming. And I was on a couple TV shows doing fun stuff. I was getting there. I was doing hair. I was doing great. And in one day, everything that I was doing was taken away from me. And it was taken away from me for months. Okay, for months. On top of that, I could not get any unemployment for like the first 6 months of the pandemic. So I wasn't working, and also I had no unemployment, so I had no money. I was fucking broke as a joke. I couldn't pay my rent. I could barely pay for groceries in LA. I had to come back home to Texas to be with my mom because I couldn't do it. And what does that do to your self-esteem? Not being able to take care of yourself, even though you were taking care of yourself, even though you were slowly moving to a certain point, and then it was just taken away, right? Something greater than me. That's where I start to believe in something greater than me. So, not in a good way though, baby. So what happened? And all of it, I'm not just talking about me. This happened to a whole bunch of people. It happened to a whole bunch of people where their lives were completely, and we're not even in the worst scenario. We're in America, we were taken care of. In third world countries, I'm sure it was 10 times worse. I always got to think that, even though most of the time it doesn't help. But it could be way worse. But my confidence was shot back at home with my mom. What do you do? What do you do? So I started thinking about the people that I lost, which I did lose. I lost 3 people during the pandemic, not to COVID. I'm not saying COVID's not real. It's not happening. I'm not one of those crazy fucking people that think it's a conspiracy. But what I am saying is I lost them to depression. I lost them to not having confidence. Because if you really want, confidence is something you need in order to not have depression. Am I right? Yes. In this moment, I am right. And I love those words. You are right. But with Robbie, he was my first boyfriend. They found him in his bedroom, dead. He took too many pills, and it looked like a suicide. My friend Joy, who introduced me to Hollywood, took me to my first Hollywood party, Muhammad Ali's birthday party. She drank herself to death. And my friend Nick, he also killed himself due to drug and alcohol problems because we were put by ourselves with nothing, with no hope, with nothing when the pandemic started. So this happened. And I think about this, and I think about those 3 people when I get very dark, when I get to a place of those crazy homicidal, suicidal thoughts. I will think of Robbie mostly, and I will think, I am going to continue doing what I need to do to his legacy, his name, I don't know. I just think of Robbie, and I think I have to keep going. I have to keep going. I want to keep going. He would want me to keep going, right? Now I'm in a salon again. We're going to cut to the end here. And now I'm in the salon again. I'm sure this has been all over the place, but whatever. And I'm surrounded by these wonderful, talented hairstylists. And a lot of them are young, and a lot of them are young, and a lot of them don't have a lot of confidence. And I think it's due to a lot of the stuff I'm talking about, but also very personal stuff that I'm never going to understand because I don't understand your childhood conditioning, right? Only you understand that. But I'm seeing where this world and the few jobs that I've been in after the pandemic, or, after the pandemic started, whatever the hell we're calling it now. People are not confident. These kids are not confident. We need to get the confidence up. We need to, I don't know how. I don't know. I think not using drugs and alcohol will help. I think meditation will help. There's a lot of YouTube. That's how I started meditating. I would go on YouTube and I would do a 5-minute guided meditation. It was so easy. I don't like male voices, so I would find female voices, and I would trust in the process. And even if I opened my eyes after 2 minutes, I would sit there for 5 minutes. And then 5 minutes turned into 10 minutes. And 10 minutes turned into 15 minutes. And 15 turned into 20 minutes. And now I can sit at least 3 times a day, 20 minutes sitting there and meditate. And I am telling you, just by breathing, closing my eyes, and calming my brain down for those 20 minutes, I have confidence. I have confidence enough to get to the next shit. And then when the next shit happens, if I have to sit down and meditate again, I will. And I know a lot of you are probably thinking, God, that sounds like a lot. But wasn't it a lot to go fucking find drugs? Wasn't it a lot to sit there and go from doctor to doctor to find the person that is going to give you the fucking pills? I mean, it was a lot for me, girl. It was very stressful. So I always take my sobriety up here. I always reflect. I always... What is the fucking word I'm using? I always respect it, I guess. Respect my sobriety. And I will do anything I can to keep me where I'm at, to keep my confidence where I'm at. I don't want to go back to those peaks and to those valleys. We talk about peaks and valleys, girl. The fucking peak and then going down. No, I want to stay in now, right? I want to stay in what's happening now. Like, I'll tell myself, if I'm having a conversation with someone that's not in the room in my brain, It's not happening, right? Stop having that conversation with that person, because all that conversation is going to do is I'm going to sit there, well, when I get to work, I'm going to say this to this person, and then that person's going to say this to this person, and then I'm going to say it back, and then she's going to say it back to me, and then all of a sudden we're going to be like, fuck you! And then you get there, you haven't even had this conversation with this person, and you're hating this person. That's not good for your self-confidence, girl. It's not good. Do not have conversations with people that are not there, okay? Be in the moment, meditate if you can. And, you know, another thing, talk to people about it. Tell people that you're not feeling great today and tell them why. If the person, I know a lot of the times people ask people, how are you doing? And they're only asking so they can then tell you how they're doing. We know those people, okay? We know those fucking stupid bitches. But there are people like me that when I ask how you are, I want to know how you are. Tell me how you are. I'm not going to sit there and judge you when you say, well, I feel pretty fucking shitty today. I will sit there and say, why? Why do you feel shitty? Let's figure this out. I bet you why you feel shitty, I bet you I've went through something so similar. And I bet you we can sit here and figure out why you feel that way, maybe uncover some childhood stuff, and maybe get to a place where maybe that's not going to be something that pops into our brain anymore, right? One less thing to ding. Because I don't know about y'all, but I can sit there at night, be asleep, be falling asleep at 11 o'clock at night, and all of a sudden the memory from being 11 pops into my head, and then I'm like wide awake thinking about what I should have done differently, how I should have said this, what I should have done. And I was 11. I couldn't do any better. I was a fucking kid, okay? We could not protect ourselves as children. Until we were 18, we couldn't, okay? But we can protect ourselves after 18, and that is our job. So whatever happened in that time that we couldn't protect ourselves, it is our job to find out why we did that, why we reacted like that, why did I feel like this when my mom said this to me, okay? Well, I felt like this because X, Y, and Z, but I'm not going to take that with me anymore, okay? This is not going to be part of my story anymore, and I'm going to make that a rule in my life. I don't know if this made any fucking sense, but I just thought, let's talk about confidence. I feel like I am a pretty confident person. I feel like even though I do have lots of moments throughout the day where I don't feel confident, for the most part, I have come into my confidence and understand who I am, what my body is, what I look like, how I feel for the most part. And that's that. So please subscribe, like. Hopefully this is a good episode. It's rambling. Maybe it's not rambling. I don't know. It's up for y'all to decide. But you know what? I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm going to edit this. I'm going to put it out. I'm not going to worry about it because there's no fucking point worrying about it. Especially in the day and age we're living in where content moves so quickly. Just fucking do the video. If you want to be on social media, just do the video, put it out, and then just look for the next video. Girl, because that's where we're living in. We're not in this world anymore where someone's gonna be huge all of a sudden. Everyone's gonna be huge, bitch. Everyone for 10 minutes. Ah!